How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to your favorite weekly horoscope, this time for June 28th through July 4th of 2021. My name's Cam White. Thank you guys so much for being here, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I'm recording this a little bit early because I'm about to go on a little, what we'll call vacation, to go see some, where my family's from over in the Ozarks, where I've never been before. So I'm recording this a little bit early. Anyway, this week is it's really not even, it's not like that intense of a week, and it's not a lot happens, but the things that do happen are, a little bit intense, a little bit destructive, a little bit chaotic. And, for some people, this is going to be, I think, a really hard week. And I think for other people, this might be the week that, sets course to a lot of things, that really changes a lot of things. And, that might eventually be for good, but this is where a lot of the confrontation happens. This is where, and it's also funny comparing this week, next week, so much shit happens next week and not a lot happens this week. So you know what? Let's just go ahead and jump straight into it. We start this week, June 28th, Monday. The moon will be leaving Aquarius, and on Monday morning, the moon's going to enter Pisces. So, when the moon enters Pisces, there's this sense of, I always describe it as like being aloof, being open, being adaptable, being changeable, learning, integrating that knowledge, right? As the moon's there's this sense of like, reflection in this area of Pisces. Well, how do you feel about certain situations? Well, in a certain, almost internal sense, how does it make you feel? And as the moon's conjoining Jupiter, I think after this full moon in Capricorn that we just got off of, here with the moon conjoining Jupiter, there's this sense of like, what is there to learn? What is there to appreciate? What is there to realize, right? This moon is now waning, so the energy is starting to decrease a little bit. We're not so, things are starting to center themselves almost in a sense. And as the moon's conjoining Jupiter, there really is this kind of like, now that Jupiter's retrograde too, what's going on here? What are we learning about this Jupiter and Pisces things? This is why I actually kind of brought up, what I'm doing this weekend, because I'm going to go, Jupiter's in my 4th house, and I'm going to go see where pretty much all of my ancestors are from. And, there's a whole graveyard actually where all of my, like, we have like just generations of people at this graveyard somewhere in the Ozarks. And, it's going to be kind of an interesting thing for me to kind of learn and experience. But I think this moon conjoining Jupiter, now that Jupiter's retrograde, we just had that Sun Jupiter trine. This really is kind of like a, hey, what can you become aware of? What are you learning? What are you, revisiting almost even? What are you reflecting on? And it just really, it's about what Pisces rules in your chart, right? Jupiter's here where it's, expanding. It's giving you, something to look at, something to learn, something to appreciate. It's giving, like, Jupiter is essentially trying to give you a gift, right? And this is, again, for 2022, but with this moon Jupiter conjunction, I really want you to kind of look at it. Because I think this is also important as we go into Tuesday. Because like I said, not a lot happens this week. So on Tuesday, the moon's then going to pretty much just square Mercury throughout most of the afternoon. So notice that Mars is building up to this opposition here. I think as the moon's in Pisces, there's this kind of, the moon's in aversion to both Mars and Saturn. This Mars-Saturn opposition is not going to feel like it's in front of your face. It's going to feel like it is in the other room and that you're not acknowledging it. Like, it's like when your car, something's fucked with your car, but that check engine light ain't turning on. So you're like, whatever. I think as the moon is applying to the square with Mercury, there's I wish I could elaborate on this better, but I guess the idea that I'm trying to get across is what you learn can be different of like what the message that was supposed to be across, or that was supposed to be getting across. Like, I guess with the moon in Pisces, right, squaring Mercury and Gemini, Mercury's like just starting to pick up a little bit of speed. It's really not moving that fast. It's still hanging out in shadow. It's pretty much right where it's stationed retrograde, or stationed, or where it went into shadow, right? So I don't necessarily see this Moon Mercury square being like, I don't want to say, it kind of looks a little complex, and it looks a little bit of like this Moon Jupiter conjunction now that Jupiter's retrograde. Like, hey, what have you been learning in this area? What have you been taking in? Is that Moon squares Mercury? Where do you have to kind of, take certain information along with like context clues, right? Like Mercury in Gemini is like the message on paper, or the message doesn't necessarily make sense with the context. And I think it's going to be kind of important to, like in some situations on Tuesday, there might be this kind of feeling of things kind of not necessarily going against your beliefs, but going against what you had thought before, or kind of like, we just had this whole Mercury retrograde, right? I mean, Mercury's clearly been reflecting and reviewing a lot of things. And I think this Moon in Pisces squaring Mercury is like, yeah, maybe you don't see it all clearly. Maybe you don't have all of the right ideas, or maybe, there's room to kind of change your mind about stuff. This looks kind of like I would just say be open to change, because that's going to be a big theme here with, Mercury and the Moon. As we go into Wednesday, though, the Moon's then going to pretty much conjoin Neptune all day long and ingress into Aries really late on Wednesday night. So the Moon's going to conjoin Neptune, pretty much be void. Sure, you could also say it's sextile Pluto, but whatever. I think on Wednesday, the Moon's also I think decreasing in light here too. I think Wednesday's a weird day. Not a lot going on. Moon is still in aversion to this Mars-Saturn opposition, but if we were to just take off the Moon, if we were to just not look at the sign of Pisces, we would just see this Mars-Saturn-Uranus business going on. So I don't necessarily think that, Wednesday, I would almost say try not to be avoidant of certain confrontation. This might, feel like you don't want to, I don't want to say deal with it, but I think also this might be, because with the rest of this week that we've kind of got going on, this kind of might be like the calm before the storm almost, like getting kind of clear with what you have to confront, getting kind of clear with, and I mean, I don't even want to say clear, because the Moon's going to be conjoining Neptune. So there's this almost sense of like, it's kind of like butterflies in your stomach before you perform. If I have any, I know I've got some performers that follow me. It's like both like nerve-wracking and like super exciting at the same time, right? That's kind of like, I feel like this Moon conjoining Neptune and void. There's this sense of like, it's about to come, but it's all over the place. So my big suggestion on Wednesday is like, give yourself somewhere to give yourself something to do. Like, keep yourself occupied is some good advice in my opinion. We get to Thursday. Thursday is really the big day. Moon ingresses into Aries again later on Wednesday night. So then as that Moon goes into Aries, there's this sense of like, I would say it's much more of like, this is what I've got to do. But the Moon's decreasing, so it's like, this is what I have to do. This is what I signed up for. The good news, the Moon's trining Venus, the Moon's trining Mars. There's a lot of, for some people, this is going to be like, just dry brush and tinder, just waiting for that cigarette butt to get dropped on it, right? And that Moon ingressing into Aries trining it is that moment. But I think it's the Moon's in Aries where we're being more confrontive, we're being more, even sometimes, I don't want to say irrational, but the Moon is doing its job, which is to reflect and to like feel, to be internal, to show compassion. It's doing it with Mars's tools and Mars's house. So it's like doing it through like brute force and like, very head on energy. And it's going to be trining Venus in Leo, trining Mars in Leo. So this is really going to be like enacting a lot of confidence in a lot of people. For some people, this is going to feel like you're going to be unhinged and you're going to be going off. Like expect things to really pop off. starting on Thursday. Just starting on Thursday. This isn't just a one-day thing. That's why I'm not going like, oh my God, all this stuff's going to happen on this day. It's like, it just merely begins on Thursday. The moon's going to be sextiling Saturn. So there is this sense of like addressing the situation from a good perspective. Mars is opposite Saturn though, pretty much all day on Thursday, pretty much going into like waking up Thursday morning. So a lot of people are going to wake up Thursday morning and choose violence and choose chaos. What I would say with Mars opposite Saturn is you are going to learn where, it's good to get the spotlight and where it's bad to get the spotlight. I think with Mars and Leo, there is this sense of like feeling like you have to do something, right? Also with Saturn and Aquarius being retrograde, right? There's this, and it's literally an opposition. It's supposed to be confrontive. It's supposed to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Oppositional. I think things are going to be kind of blowing up this day, but this is also the moon's in Aries trining Venus and Mars. I think this is essentially when Mars and Leo shows up and is like, you know what, I've got something to say, and I'm going to say it. Like I said, I think there's going to be some pretty intense stuff in the news. It's pretty interesting what you're seeing with, like, I guess the celebrity drama going on right now. But what I really feel like this is going to be like is just being told no, because that's what Saturn does. Saturn says no. And Mars in Leo really wants things to be this authentic way, that really wants things to be this grandiose in the public. Mars in Leo wants to be fucking seen, right? And Saturn is saying no. But this isn't Saturn direct. This is Saturn retrograde, where this isn't like it's just read the room is what I feel like this really is read the room. And we're going to continue with that. This is, again, a build-up story, because as we go into Friday, the moon's going to then sextile Mercury pretty much all day, right? So there is this kind of like, what I really hate about this transit is how well, like, the Mercury moon situation is, because it's just going to be very fiery communication. Like, it's going to be really important to not let things like go ablaze really fast, because things can get really chaotic. But, with the moon in Aries sextiling Mercury in Gemini, like, the shots are going to be fired, like, straight up. And it's going to be all over the place, in my opinion. I think as we go into Friday, though, where if we go back to Thursday, there's this sense of like feeling like you have to do something, feeling like you need to be seen, and feeling like it needs to be addressed, but it's not being reciprocated well, right? Like, Thursday is not like a day where you're going to, like, if you have a problem and you're trying to get that problem in the light, I don't think it's going to have a good light, but I also think this is going to be addressing it. Now, the other thing, though, that really changes this up is, of course, Uranus is in the middle of this. Now, Uranus really doesn't become important until, of course, let's get to Saturday. Let's just get to Saturday. So we have Friday. The moon's going to sextile Mercury. Mars then clicks over into 13, where this is now much more about, separating from Saturn, applying to Uranus. So Mars opposite Saturn is a confrontation, a no, a hitting a wall. And then it squares Uranus, where it's like, fuck it. we're gonna do this differently. We're going to shake it up a little bit because I'm a little angry. Again, what's hard is I feel like the Mars-Saturn opposition is bad. The Mars-Uranus square, though, I don't know how bad that will be for everybody. I don't. For some, like I said in the beginning of this, for a lot of people, this week is going to be very frustrating. A lot of this is going to feel like, things ending, things stopping, and it being out of your control. Like, literally, like it's cancer season. We're going to feel like babies being told no about something, and it's not going to feel fair. And, unfortunately, that's life. Unfucking fortunately. And you can't always change that. But what I love about it is that it's Mars goes opposite Saturn and then squares Uranus, where it's like, it's kind of like where some of my millennial Gen Z viewers will know this reference and only this reference. I don't know if my older ones will know this, but one of the OG vines, Kevin the light, don't hit the light, and he stops, right? And then he fucking does it again, and it breaks the light, right? I wish I would have had that pulled up for you guys. I'm sure someone will know what I'm talking about, though. But anyway, this is kind of like stopping and being like, you know what? Let me do it one more time. But if it's something that I have learned as someone, and people in like the motocross and extreme sports industry know this. It's always the last one. When you say, I want to just do one more, that's where you get injured. It's always just, it's never like, you never get injured when you're just like doing your natural thing. It's always like, oh, let me just hit the jump one more time. Let me just do this one more time. Let me just do it like this. Or it's something stupid. It's always something stupid you get injured on, right? And that's where this Mars-Uranus square comes into play, where if your ego is not checked, this Mars and Leo, like coming off of Saturn squaring Uranus, is like, don't do something stupid. Don't do something, unhinged last second that's unchecked. You know what I mean? Don't be afraid to shake it up, because again, for some people, this is going to be like, what is the right thing to do versus the thing that's going to make you feel good. Like, and both of those, the hard part is there's no like right or wrong decision. It's just what is stable, what's not stable. And so I think on Friday, while the moon's in Aries, sextiling Mercury and Gemini, this is kind of like, again, getting the message across, in my opinion. And then as we get into Saturday, like I said, Saturday's the next big day. It's really Thursday and Saturday, the big days. This is Saturday and Sunday, really, if you go into it, because the moon goes into Taurus on Saturday. But the moon goes into exaltation, and it's sextiling Jupiter in Pisces. I like that for like feeling good. I don't like that for like this Mars-Saturn, Mars-Uranus thing, because the moon, what I love about exaltation is that it's very cocky energy. It's very privileged energy. It's very, I'm worthy and greater and better than you. And so as the moon's in Taurus sextiling Jupiter, like, you feel like this is kind of like really gassed up. And Mars is going to square Uranus, where again, it's like, and the moon's going to be at its exalted degree while this is happening. Like, some people are really going to be needing to check themselves, right? And for some other, like, and also this is Mars square Uranus. Mars opposite Saturn is like being told no by the adult, by the teacher, and then Mars squaring Uranus is like the kid pulling the fire alarm, being like, you know what, fuck you. Just because. So now what I hate to say here is that, of course we all live different lives, we all have different experiences. For some people, maybe you need to stir shit up. You know what I mean? Maybe you need to go out on a limb and go fucking crazy. You know what I mean? Venus is right here too. Don't get me wrong. Like, this isn't all bad. Like, Venus and Leo is like, you know what? I fucking want to be seen. You know what? I want to be witnessed. I want to be, I enjoy doing things out of authenticity. I enjoy acting out of, I don't want to say ego, because yes, sometimes out of ego, but with Mars and Venus and Leo, there's a sense of like, no matter what you're doing, even if it's good or bad, it's real. So there's this sense of, I think on Saturday, Just know what you're doing. Know what you're getting yourself into, right? You're an adult. You make your own decisions. This is your life. There's going to be moments in your life where like something that I've learned a lot in life as someone who's a very fire and air person is pick and choose your battles. And for some people, you're going to be picking this battle. And for some other people, this is going to be a battle that maybe you should hold off on. But I think as Mars squares Uranus, there is this kind of energy of things becoming very unstable. Mars opposite Saturn. And like I said, I really think there's going to be some type of, like, this is also building up to the 4th of July. So, some type of explosion, I think there's going to be some type of ecological disaster. Maybe not bad, because those seems to just happen all the fucking time, but Uranus seems to be around every single time there's some type of, Uranus was there for Deepwater Horizon, for Fukushima. Uranus was there for, I don't fucking remember. Anyway, On Saturday, Mars squaring Uranus is things become very kind of unhinged. And Uranus is squaring Mars. Uranus is from the superior position. So you talk about this Uranus and Taurus, like what is stable? What is, the ground is not stable. It is not, earthquake proof is a good way to look at it. So things really get shooken up on Saturday. Check your ego, check your pride, but also, hey, for some of you motherfuckers need to stand up for. Some of you people literally need to go out on a limb. You know what I mean? It just depends on what's going on in your chart. I would, that's for you to read. But we get into Sunday, and we end this week. The moon's going to conjoin Uranus and square Saturn and Mars on Sunday, and this is really where. I think the moon on Saturday, while it's in the beginning part of Taurus, sextiling Jupiter, this is like, the moon in Taurus is like, okay, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling centered, I'm feeling where I need to be. It's sextiling Jupiter where it's like, feeling like you're in the good position, feeling like you're in an advantageous position, not that you're not in an advantageous position, but I believe as we go into Sunday, as the moon conjoins Uranus and squares Mars and squares Saturn, is like, what I hate about this is there's just certain things that at this point, there is no bending. You know what I mean? It's things snapping, it's things breaking. There is no, and I think, I don't know, some people are like, oh, you should bend rather than break. Fuck it, break it. Some things need to be broken. Some things literally need that, like, to be fractured. You know what I mean? I love that word. And this to me is that fracture moment. This is that, it's separated, right? The moon conjoining Uranus is really gonna like where the moon's in Taurus looking for that stability. It's conjoining Uranus. It's translating that light. It's kind of just shaking it all up. You know what I mean? So I think on Sunday, we go into Sunday going, damn, it's a little different now. Things are a little bit different, and I think the one thing too is, I've talked a lot, like with the Saturn Uranus thing, is like making the changes that you have to make, right? Being on your feet, looking alive. This will be, and I hate to be so dramatic about this week. It's just, I'm just reading this shit. For a lot of people, this is going to suck. I mean, for a lot of people, there's probably going to be a handful of you that are like, nothing happened to me this week because whatever reason, but this is some fucking intense shit. I think this is, so the reason why I think this week is so important in the sense that it's like negative is because when we go into next week we have Mercury squaring Neptune, Mercury leaves shadow, Venus goes opposite Saturn, Venus also squares Uranus, so we have like the same things. We have the new moon in Cancer, and then as we end next week, we have Mercury going into Cancer. So it's like I say everything, like some things need to snap, right? I use that analogy because when we get to here and the moon's coming up towards this new moon, this is kind of like so when you're at church, or not when you're at church, I'm trying to think of another analogy for this and I can't, and there's a better one, so just bear with me here. But when you're at church and you see like the video of like the pastor putting his hand on like the forehead and they're speaking in tongues, going all crazy, and there's like this crazy moment, right? And it's just like everyone's freaking out because they're all speaking tongues, so it just looks wild. And then the pastor's like says something crazy and like smacks the person, right? And then that person like falls, but there's people that catch that person. That's what this next 2 weeks are. Is there's this literally like, like everyone's like, it's literally like, imagine you are at church and some pastor, imagine I don't want to say it's, for some people have had this experience, other people would be skeptical of this experience, but let's just all pretend that we're having this real experience of God, the message of God is flowing through us, right? the Holy Spirit and everything. And there's this, kind of chaotic moment that leads up to a buildup, and it's that kind of snap where you see also people like, what's that? Or like hypnosis. Have you guys seen like hypnosis things where they're like, oh, blah, 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 bam, you're passed out. And then like they'll pass out. It's like that. Like there's this sense of things kind of snapping. And then as we go into next week, Mercury leaves shadow. Mercury goes into Cancer. We have the new moon in Cancer. Venus comes up after Mars to clean up the mess, right? Well, I don't think Venus comes up to clean up the mess. Venus comes up to also get told no. And Venus is also going to be like, I'm sorry about Mars. And then Venus is going to leave the square to Uranus in opposition to Saturn and come up to Mars and be like, you know what? Fuck them. We're on our own team here. So, this is just kind of the week it goes down. And I know for a lot of people, you might see where this is leading up, where this is going. I just think some things just got to happen. And this is just that week. After this week, next week looks pretty great, in my opinion. I mean, we have Mercury squaring Neptune, but that's been happening for like a month now. So I'm kind of used to it at this point. I don't want to even say next week looks better. Next week has its high points and low points. The high points are Mercury leaves shadow, and the new moon in Cancer. Mercury goes into Cancer, but Venus will go opposite Saturn. Venus will square Uranus. Mercury will square Neptune. Next week has its replenishing sides, but it's also like there's also some leftover. There's some damage control that we have to do next week because of this week. And when you think about this week, this is why I was like, I truly think this is going to be a hardcore week. Is out of all the chances that we talked about, the real chance, the only thing I've got highlighted here of like an actual transit is Mars going opposite Saturn and Mars squaring Uranus. Those are the only two things going on this week. So what does that tell you? The moon's just kind of declining in light. But anyway, that's what I got for you guys this week. I really hope everything goes well this week. I hope fate has a lot of things in store for you guys this week. So just hang on. So with that being said, I love and appreciate you guys, and I'll be seeing you next week.